Hello, Internet. It is I, the Malik Aaron, and welcome back to Box Office Predictions. Today, we are going to be talking about Ambulance. So, as usual, we're going to be going over the pros and cons. So, let's get to it. Pros. Our cast here is quite recognizable, I would say. Specifically, our two leads, Jake Gyllenhaal and Yahya Abdul Mateen II. First off, my boy Jake Gyllenhaal. This dude's been around for years, ever since Donnie Darko in 2001. But I specifically first seeing him in The Day After Tomorrow. Then after that, he did Jarhead, then Brokeback Mountain, then Zodiac, then the Prince of Persia movie that nobody liked, Source Code, End of Watch, Prisoners, Nightcrawler, Southpaw, Everest, Life, Spider-Man: Far From Home, where he was Mysterio, and now this. And obviously, his two biggest hits are Far From Home and Day After Tomorrow, although they're less about him and more about the type of movie he was in. And a lot of these other movies were more like ensemble pieces, like, say, Prisoners or Everest. But some of these movies, like, he was like the legit star, like Nightcrawler, a movie I have seen, a movie that you should see too, because it's very, very good. And also, Source Code is pretty good too. But yeah, I mean, the dude has a lot of clout, when it comes to, like, I guess, movie lovers. So yeah, seeing his face, I say is a pretty good sign. He has a lot of, people respect him. And then we got Yahya Abdul Mateen II, a guy who's been definitely around the past few years in some high profile flicks. I mean, he was in Aquaman as Black Manta. He was in Us. He was in the Candyman remake from last year, Matrix 4, which let's not talk about that. So yeah, he's definitely a recognizable face, easily. Then I don't know about this Ezia Gonzalez. I don't know that much about her. I'm looking at her resume here. Apparently, she was in Godzilla vs. Kong, which was a big hit. There was Bloodshot, which was screwed because of when it came out right when the pandemic hit hard and the movie theater business died for a few months. So that was really unfortunate. Apparently, she was also in Hobbs and Shaw and Alita Battle Angel and Baby Driver. So at least she's not box office poisoned. So yeah, I mean, all three of these actors, specifically Gyllenhaal and Abdul Mateen II, they are recognizable faces. So I would consider that a pro. Although with Jake Gyllenhaal, I'll explain a bit more about him in the cons section, but he's recognizable. They're all recognizable. That's a pro for me. That's pro number one. Pro number two, reviews for this movie are surprisingly decent considering who made the movie. And that person is Mr. Michael Bay, and I will discuss his resume real soon. But yeah, reviews for this movie are pretty decent. They're like in the 69, 68%, which is fine. It's not a score that will get people to rush to see the movie, but it's not a score that will make people run away from it. So, I mean, that's good, I guess. Apparently, audience scores are pretty decent too. So, that's a pro, I guess. The movie isn't trashed. It's decent enough. So, that's pro number two. Pro number three, when it comes to direct competition, things aren't too bad right now. I mean, Morbius is guaranteed to collapse utterly this weekend. That is going to happen. And Sonic 2 is more aimed towards, been more towards the family market. This here is an R-rated movie. And we haven't really had a R-rated action movie in quite some time, actually, now that I think about it. I think I know there was like Cop Shop, but that was like way back in September. I don't remember. I guess Matrix 4? I'm guessing. That's the last one we really had because I literally can't think of anything else. Oh wait, there was that crappy Liam Neeson movie, Blacklight in February. That's it. That nobody watched. So when it comes to direct competition right now, it's not too bad. It will get worse later on, but for right now, it's not too bad. So that's a relative pro right there. Um, Trying to think of any other pros off the top of my head. I can't think of anything else. I mean, with the audience for this, like it's obviously geared towards the male demographic, that a bit of an older male demographic, which kind of comes out to the theaters sometimes. I mean, they came out to theaters somewhat when Nobody came out last year, and that came out when like nobody was going to the theaters. Like it was a rough time last year. But yeah, that movie did okay-ish considering the circumstances. So if that could do well, then theoretically this could do well too. So I guess the genre, the demographic is a relative pro here. Another pro, I guess, is that Universal's been pushing this movie enough. I mean, they haven't bombarded people with ads, but they make sure to, let you know that this movie does in fact exist. So they're giving it, and plus the trailer for this movie was put in front of like some really big movies. Like we're talking Spider Man, we're talking the Batman movies that made hundreds of millions of dollars. Well, in Spider Man's case, $1.8 billion. So obviously having the trailer in front of those type of movies is maximum exposure. And plus they've been seeing a decent amount of ads. I'm seeing a decent amount of ads for this on YouTube. So I would consider that a pro. Okay, this next part isn't a pro or a con. I just need to talk about Michael Bay because I this is the first Michael Bay movie I've ever covered on the channel. So that's kind of exciting. So I can finally discuss this man because he is either going to be the guy that gets people to watch this movie or run away from it. So Michael Bay. Oh my god. Okay. Michael Bay. Gotta go his director credits, not producer. Okay, all his movies that he has made past over 25 years. Damn, he's been around for a long time. Oh, okay, so we start out with Bad Boys, right? First Bad Boys did really good, really started a movie careers of like Martin Lawrence and Will Smith. Then he made The Rock a year later, which many consider to be like his best movie for like the longest time. Some say his only good movie. Then 2 years later, he made Armageddon, which wasn't very good. It was a cheese fest, but it had enough dumb action in it and just dumb comedy that the general audiences loved, that it made over $500 million, and I believe it was the biggest movie of that year worldwide. And then after that, he made Pearl Harbor, which I would argue was a very disrespectful movie, but he did it anyway, where he basically took the tragedy of Pearl Harbor and made it a bombastic action movie that tried so hard to be Titanic. And although it didn't reach the levels of Titanic, still made a lot of money, like $449 million worldwide. It's nothing to sneeze at. Still one of the biggest movies of that year. They made Bad Boys 2, which doubled the box office of the first movie, so that's great. Then he made The Island, which was his first disaster, a movie that I can't for the life of me describe because I only seen it once and I don't remember a thing. But it was his first flop. It only made like 35 million domestic on like a budget of like 130-ish, which is horrendous. And then here we go. Transformers, the series that Michael Bay will be forever associated with, for better or worse, and May would argue definitely worse. But those first few Transformers movies did really well. I mean, that first one, it made 700 million domestic, like 300 from the US. So that's fantastic. And it was a movie that audiences liked. And then Revenge of the Fallen, a movie that is utter trash, made even more money because of the goodwill from the first movie. It made $800 million, 400 million in the US. So that's great. And then Dark of the Moon, it made it slightly less than the last one domestically, but it made a lot more overseas. Made over $1 billion. And yeah, so things are going great. Then he took a break from Transformers to make Pain and Gain, a movie that I honestly think is underrated. I like this movie, okay? But it didn't make a whole lot of money, but it wasn't expensive. So it's like whatever. It was like a passion project for him. And I think it's underrated. I think it's better than its reputation. Then he went back to Transformers with Age of Extinction, which fell off a bit from the last movie domestically, but still made $1 billion. It's like the biggest movie of 2014, which is really sad statement. But considering all the great movies that came out in 2014, this was number one. Like, come on now. Then he made 13 Hours, Secret Soldiers of Benghazi, which didn't do that great. It got rolled up in like political controversy because of the subject matter. Then he made The Last Night, a trash, trash, trash movie where audiences finally had enough of his bullshit and decided to just not watch it. It fell off hard in comparison to the other Transformers movies, only making like $600 million, like almost half as much as the last one. And yeah, that was his last Transformers movie. Then he made Six Underground for Netflix, which starred like Ryan Reynolds. I heard that movie was really bad too. And now we're here with Ambulance. So yeah, his track record, it's mostly filled with successes, like big successes, but there's been a few duds in here, and a majority of his resume is objectively not very good and is garnered him like a pretty bad reputation. And plus, a lot of his movies have like similar, yeah, I guess, tropes, like Michael Bay isms, if you will, where there's several things that always pop up in his movies. Usually, there's like the military, barrage of American flags, product placement, hot girls with no personality, and of course, the most obvious one, explosions. Michael Bay with explosions is the same as J.J. Abrams with lens flares, or M. Night Shyamalan with twist. That's what he's synonymous with. That's his whole legacy. And from what I've heard, this movie follow has some of those isms in there, but it's not as egregious as say some of his other movies. But yeah, Michael Bay's track record, I mean, he's definitely a well-known name. I mean, again, some of his movies have made hundreds of millions of dollars, some even billions. But yeah, it's still not something I would be promoting all that much. So yeah, I just wanted to mention that. That's neither a pro or a con. Just wanted to mention that because sure, Michael Bay is financially successful, but he's not critically successful. Although this is more on the critical side of success. But now we get to the cons and things get really bleak. So, first con is that when it comes to all the other movies coming out right now, this movie just kind of exists. No one's really talking about it because, everybody's attention is on Sonic 2, right? Then you also have like Everything Everywhere All at Once, going from like a big limited release to a wide release now. Hell, even more people are memeing on Morbius than talking about this movie, which is a really bad sign. And yeah, this movie really didn't have that much hype to begin with, and the hype never really increased. So, yeah, like just lack of general attention is bad. even with all the ads, no one really cares. So that's a con, lack of general attention from like the public. So that's con number one. Con number two is the when this movie is coming out. Now I already said there's no direct competition, but I didn't say there was no competition, period. I mean, this weekend, I already said Sonic 2 is guaranteed to make big money, right? So all the attention is primarily on that. And then what Ambulance did is it sandwiched itself in between that Sonic and the next week with like Fantastic Beasts 3, which I don't think is going to do great, but it'll certainly make some cash. And that's not going to help this movie at all. And then like the week after that, you have like a bunch more movies coming out, and the two that are really going to hurt this movie are The Northman and The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, which share this movie's target audience. So this movie kind of screwed itself. And honestly, it should have came out when it was supposed to, which was February 18th. Sure, it would have to deal with Uncharted, sure would have had to deal with the Batman, but at least it would have had a week where nothing important came out. It would have, had a chance to breathe. Here, no, it's just in the shuffle. It's just like it's in a bad place. So yeah, just very crowded market with more interesting movies. That's a big con. Another con is its Thursday night numbers are quite bad, honestly. Only made like 700,000 for Thursday previews, which is low. I mean, comparison sakes, freaking The Lost City made like more than double that in its previews. And then with this, like Sonic made like 5 million in previews, and that doesn't even include those Wednesday showings that which adds to that to like 6.5, so 6.25. So this number looks really abysmal. It's comparable to, hold on, I want to compare this to Moonfall. That seems to be a decent enough comparison. I want to see if these are some weird comparisons. Madagascar 3, Space Jam 2, Spider-Man, Sonic. Why? Of all the comparisons that people chose those. Okay, Moonfall. How did that do? Because that movie was an utter disaster financially. Its Thursday previews were the exact same. Wow. It's also 700,000. So this is a good comparison. This is a perfect comparison. So Moonfall didn't even open with like 10 million. So that's a terrible sign for this. So low preview numbers is a con, obviously. Another con I can think of is that Jake Gyllenhaal, while he's well respected as an actor, I love him. He's very talented. He has that syndrome where no one really wants to watch him on the big screen, or at least people don't want to pay to see him. It's kind of like Ryan Gosling, where Ryan Gosling has like a ton of great movies, but he's just not a draw. No one really wants to watch him, or he's paid to watch his movies. It's really sad, but it's the unfortunate truth. And Jake Gyllenhaal kind of has a similar thing going on. So that really sucks, but it's a fact. So, and plus, some of his bigger movies are part of ensembles, not just him. So, yeah, that's a con, obviously. Just lack of drawing power from Mr. Gyllenhaal, because he's like the primary face here. So, yeah. Can I think of anything else? I mean, I guess R-rated action movies, they've done okay, but they haven't done great at all. I mean, there's Nobody, which did fine. There's Wrath of Man that did fine. There's Cop Shop that bombed. um, what else is there that I can think of? Matrix 4, I guess, which was an utter disaster that also starred Yahya Abdul Mateen II. Um, yeah, the R-rated action movie isn't doing too great. Now that I think about it, it's not making The Suicide Squad's another example. That did really bad, although I believe it deserved better. So, yeah, R-rated action movies, like, they definitely have their audience, but that audience don't really want to come out all that much. I don't know when they'll ever come out again for the R-rated action movie, so that's kind of a con, just lack of big success for the genre. Is there anything else? I think that's it, I guess. Yeah. So opening weekend. Oh, now beginning of the month, I thought, okay, maybe this could hit like 15 to 20 minutes. Oh, wait, I forgot to mention something. It's overseas run so far. Like it debuted overseas like a couple weeks ago, and it has done terrible. Like objectively a terrible. It's only made like about 20 million so far in like many countries, like quite a few countries. I mean, Sonic 2, for comparison's sake, made more than that in one weekend and only had like half the countries that Ambulance had. So there's no excuse for this. So yeah, its overseas numbers are bad. That could be a big omen for this. So that's a con. But now predictions. I thought it would open to like 15 to 20 beginning of the month. Now I know it won't. It'll be lucky to hit 10. So I'm just gonna go with 10. Maybe like a little more, a little less than 10. I'm going with 10 million. I think that's fair enough. 10 million, and then its total will be, I don't know, man. 30-ish million, like 25 to 30 million. Maybe more than that, but I'm not pushing it. And that'll be it for Ambulance, and it'll be Michael Bay's worst performing movie ever. So that sucks for him. So yeah, that's Ambulance. Now, next up, two more movies to talk about this weekend. There's Everything Everywhere All at Once, and then the big one, Sonic the Second, otherwise known as Sonic the Hedgehog 2, the movie that everyone really cares about this weekend, the only movie people really care about. Then that'll be it for the weekend. And the next week, I gotta do a midweek prediction with Father Stew, which is on Wednesday, and then Friday I do Fantastic Beasts 3. That should be great to talk about because there's a lot to discuss there, and a lot of it's not good. And then the week after that, I got three more movies to talk about: Bad Guys, Northman, Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. Then I do Memory in April, and then we're off to the summer season. So yeah, so stay tuned for all those videos. But anywho, that's it. That's all. Make sure to subscribe, like this video, leave a comment, turn on notifications, share the whole drill. I'm gonna check out more videos like this. I got playlists on the homepage for all previous prediction videos I made this year. And if you want to watch those, go right ahead. Or any others I've done, just go on the playlist tab. You'll find them with ease. There's also the canceled series where I go over all the movies that were supposed to come out but didn't. I covered Ambulance once, and that's when Universal decided to delay it right after I filmed and uploaded an episode, which pissed me off. I think that was episode 95, I think. So if you want to go watch that, you can go right ahead. But if you want to watch any of the other canceled episodes, there's now 114 episodes. So if you want to watch 2 years of content and just seeing how things have evolved and changed in those 2 years in the movie world, you can go right ahead. There's also box office recaps where I go over the box office results for any particular month. I just did March recap yesterday. April recap will come out, gosh, right before Doctor Strange 2. I can tell you that. So stay tuned for that. But if you want to watch any of the past prediction videos, no, recap videos I made on the channel, you can go right ahead. And yeah, that's it. That's all. I am out. Goodbye.